अभ्यासो न हि व्यक्तव्यः अभ्यासो हि परं बलम् अनभ्यासे विषमो विद्यो अजीर्णे भोजनं विद्यात्. So namaste, one and all present here. Myself, Dr. Akshita Kichidi, Coordinator Tattvabodhini, would like to extend my warm welcome to one and all present here. In today's session, we will be discussing about a practical approach to Sushruta's surgical training in the lockdown scenario, presented by Dr. Sri Lakshmi VS. Before starting the session, I would like to tell some of the instructions for all the participants present here. Please keep your microphone muted throughout the session. If you are having any question, you can leave your question in the chat box and they will be answered at the end of the session. And please have your full name while displayed throughout the session. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker for today's session, that is Dr. Sri Lakshmi VS. She is BMS, MS, Department of Shalatantra, Nainigal Ayurveda Medical College, Kotamangala, Kerala. She has completed her undergraduation in MG University and post-graduation from Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham with first rank and the gold medal. Also, she has completed her diploma in Sanskrit from Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan. She has also presented about 20 papers in national and international forums and published 7 papers in scientific journals. Her 2 papers on Kshara Sutra got recently published in the Scopus Index Journal of Coloproctology, collaborated with Elsevier Editoria and Brazilian Society of Coloproctology. So we are very glad to have you here, Dr. Sri Lakshmi VS. So without further delay, I would like to hand over this session to you.
Thank you, Dr. Akshita. Thank you for the warm welcome. May I start the presentation? Can I screen share now?
Yeah, you can.
Hope I'm audible and the screens are visible.
Yes, they're visible.
Is it changing?
Yeah.
Yes. So, warm good afternoon to all. Let me welcome all of you to my presentation on the topic, a practical approach to Sushruta's surgical training in the lockdown scenario. Myself, Dr. Sri Lakshmi. I'm working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Shalatantra in Nangalil Ayurveda Medical College, Kerala. Okay. Shall we move on to the topics? The presentation includes the following topics: the simulation-based training, current lockdown scenario, Sushruta's Yogya Sutriya concept, how the simulation works, and the cycle of simulation, the 6 steps involved in simulation technique, the types and levels of simulation in modern health science and technology, and finally the conclusion. So let's begin with a story. We all will be familiar with this particular story. It is from the Mahabharatas. The Pandavas and the Kauravas, they learned the archery skills under sage Dronacharya, that we all know. And one day, this Acharya Drona, he decided to conduct an examination, a test to assess their skills in archery by hanging a wooden bird on a tree. And he asked his disciples to shoot directly into the eyes of the bird. So this technique of simulation, it has been incorporated in teaching methodology since the ancient period itself. It is not a novelty. It is not a new technology. It has been there since the ancient times. So we can see what is there, how enormous it is now, and how it has been evolved as a huge technology, and what our science says about the concept of simulation. So what is simulation-based training? Simulation-based training, especially in the context of surgery. Let's see the definition. It is a technique for acquiring surgical skills in safe and regulated environment. It is highly recommended for surgery scholars before they start operating in live patients. Also, simulator labs equipped with cadavers, synthetic models, virtual reality are utilized as learning tools in today's surgical practice. Experimental surgery is a synonym for the simulation-based training in surgery. So in simple words, in layman's words, it is just practicing the surgery just before operating a live patient. So I think the definition of a simulation-based training in surgery is clear for you now. It is just practicing the surgery before operating a live patient. So you all will be familiar with this particular series on Amazon Prime. It is the Good Doctor series. And here in this particular scene, you can see the protagonist. His name is Dr. Sean Murphy. He's a surgical resident and he's practicing on a simulator before his first surgical procedure in front of his senior surgeon. So that much evolved is a modern simulation technology in the it is so much advanced and it's so vast. So that is the significance of this slide and this photo. It is from the Good Doctor series. It is a very good series. It will inspire you to become a good surgeon. So coming to the essentiality for surgical simulation for a surgery student. Why it is essential for a surgery student to get trained in simulation labs and all. So there are so many reasons behind that. We can see one by one. One is the unfamiliar. Most of the concepts, okay, surgery is a vast subject, and you all know the syllabus is divided into part 1, part 2, A, B, and there are so many subdivisions, so many surgical procedures are there in our science. So we cannot, one by one, we cannot learn by hands-on training. So one or the other we'll be unfamiliar with. Okay, even if we are well versed or we are a rank holder or we are so skilled in surgery, a student will always be unfamiliar or unexposed to certain surgical areas. And also surgery, it cannot be predicted. It is a complex procedure. Okay, you cannot predict whether it will be an easy procedure, it will be a complex procedure. Always you can expect some kind of complexity. So it is always associated with some kind of risk also. The patient is having some comorbidities, if the patient is diabetic or so, it is always associated with some kind of risk. It is always a risk to operate and study or to get a hands-on training on a live patient. And regarding the lack of expertise or exposure of a student. Student is always a student, even if it is a house surgeon or an internee or a PG scholar. A student is not like a surgeon. There will be some gap in the learning process. So when you consider a final year student, okay, teachers are teaching him or her the theory portions, and the practical portions are not dealt simultaneously. We'll deal with the practical portions in the later classes or in the practical sessions. Always there is a gap between this theory and the practical, and for due to that particular cause, the student always has some kind of lack of experience or expertise in the field when compared to a practicing surgeon. So that is another barrier. Now coming to the scarce time and the high healthcare demands. So when you consider an internee or a house surgeon, how many time is left with him for training? 1 year of internship is there. Okay, so within that 1 year, 1 month will be 1 month or 1.5 months will be his Shalya postings. So with that time, he get enough exposure in all the prescribed procedures told in the syllabus? No. Okay, so the time is very scarce and the demand, he should be competent, but while coming out, he should be competent enough, okay, to face the scenario, the surgical scenario outside. So that is another factor. Now coming to the ethical consideration or the vulnerable group. Okay, when you are in an IPD or you are handling the OPDs, when you are having your postings in either of the IPDs or OPDs, you get a patient. Okay, you have a group of male interns there, and a female patient is coming with an rectal case. So this particular patient, she is finding some discomfort when the male interns are examining her, and she'll convey that to the consultant, and the consultant will be forced to that is a remove, or he will be asking the male interns to leave the examination room or the ward, or something like that, or the OT, because of maintaining the privacy issues of the patient. So that is the ethical consideration. When it comes to the vulnerable group, okay, you are getting an old patient, or a patient suffering from diabetes, or a very young patient, or a pregnant or a lactating mother. So these kind of patients are considered to be vulnerable group. They cannot be subjects to hands-on training. So your consultant or your teacher will not allow them to for you to get hands-on trained. Okay, they'll be handled in a sensitive manner. So that is these are all the factors that contribute to the requirement of simulation techniques for a student or intern who is intending to practice surgery. So I think this slide is also clear for you. The student is always having some kind of unfamiliarity or lack of experience in certain fields. That is one point. Then is the scarcity of time, and that is high demands of healthcare. That is another factor, and the ethical consideration, the considering the privacy, considering the comorbidities of the patient is another factor. So thus simulation is essential. If you're getting to study on a simulator, all these factors they can be forgotten. Okay, next slide shows the significance of simulation in today's scenario of the pandemic. Okay, so it has become the need of our hours, the need of the hour, because it is very difficult. Hands-on training is very difficult in this COVID scenario, because we have to maintain the SMS, the COVID protocol. There should not be any crowding. You should not touch the patient. You have to maintain the social distancing. Then how can you hands-on train on the patient? Okay, so that is hands-on training has become. It is not a practical.
Dr. Sri Lakshmi, your voice is breaking. We're not able to hear you. Everybody kindly wait patiently. There is some network issues with the presenter. We'll be resolving it soon. We'll be back in a minute. She's reconnecting. Kindly wait, we are resolving it.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. 1 second. Yeah, you can continue with the session.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
No
It's just a
problem.
power failure.
Yeah, no problem, ma'am. You can continue.
I think I've stopped with this slide, the significance in the pandemic scenario.
Yes.
So let's continue with the session and the significance of simulation in this pandemic scenario. It is a need of the hour because hands-on training is practically, it is not possible because it is very tough because of the COVID protocol, the social distancing protocol, everything. And whenever a procedure, it is practiced in the absence of real patient, this method can be adopted. That is the significance of simulation-based training. So that is the significance in the pandemic situation. Now we can come to the essence or the core subject, that is the Yogya Sutriya. The Yogya Sutra is a 9th chapter in Sushrutam Sutrasthanam. Yogya, the term means, Yogya means imparting skill. In this particular scenario, it means imparting surgical skill to a patient, to a student. Okay, so imparting a surgical skill to a student, a surgery scholar. So Sushruta Samhita has set aside a separate chapter, okay, this 9th chapter on surgical simulation with suitable objects, which is a very unique and innovative contribution of Sushruta to the field of surgery. So it is told that yogyam karmasu kaushalam. It is imparting surgical skill to a surgery scholar, making him competent. So that was Yogya Sutriya. We can see the contents. We can analyze the contents of this particular chapter. It includes the practical demonstration of 8 basic surgical techniques. That is the Ashtavida Shastra Karmas and the thermal and the caustic cauterization. That is the Agnikshara Karma. The bandaging techniques. That is the Bandhana, Bandhaviti, and the reconstructive surgery, that is the Karna Sandhi Bandhana, and few other miscellaneous therapeutic procedures. So let's go through one by one. That is Chedana. First one is Chedana or surgical excision. It is a removal of a tissue using a saw. It is a surgical saw or a knife. A sharp surgical instrument is used in this particular scenario for the removal of tissue. It is excision by excising. Okay, it is practiced on the flowers or fruits of succulent vegetables, mainly from the Cucurbitaceae family. That is the cucumber, the watermelon, bottle gourd, etc., are used to demonstrate this particular procedure. So it is indicated in hemorrhoids and fistula. You have to find certain cross references which are linked with these that is context. That is, first is the holding of an instrument. That is, holding of an instrument, it is told in the Shastra Vidhi Adhyaya. Okay, we have to hold this particular instrument in this particular way. So that has to be considered while reading through this context. And also there is the indication of each Shastra Karma. It is told in the 25th chapter of Sutrasthana, that is Ashta Vidha Shastra Karmiya Adhyaya. So these cross references has to be considered while reading through this context. So that was Chedana. Chedana can be practiced in two ways. That is the excision by Utkartana and Apakartana. That is the limited and excessive excision procedure. That is, amputation and all is practiced by means of this demonstration procedure. So by practicing this, we can judge the pressure that is required to slice, or you have to excise something, and also we'll be expert in holding the instrument in the different positions, okay, to do excision in different directions. So that is the significance of this particular procedure, that is demonstrative procedure, Chedana or surgical excision in Yogya Sutriya. So this is a video demonstration of Chedana. The part is already marked, and you are using a knife or a sharp surgical instrument to excise a vegetable, that is a succulent vegetable, which is a cucumber here. So that was Chedana Karma. Now coming to the next slide, that is Pedana. Pedana, it is incision and exploration. It is exposing a cavity by splitting or dividing using a scalpel for draining the contents. So we are doing this incision and exploration, like in the case of an abscess. Okay, so it is practiced classically in Dhriti, Vasti, etc. That is the leather bag, or which is filled with some kind of mud or slush or something like that, or water, or even water. And also it is used, practiced on animal bladder, that is Vasti. So here also we can judge the pressure of excision, so incision. That much pressure that we have used in Chedana Karma is not required in this Pedana Karma. We can judge the that is the sensitive pressure that is required to put a straight incision. It should be very straight. That it should not be jagged or lacerated kind of thing. Should not happen. Should be very straight kind of thing. So that is it. It should be superficial also. It should not harm the deep structures also. So that is it. Now coming to the Lekhana. So how can we, that is, how can we practice Lekhana Karma? Classically, it is told that we have to use a sheet of leather with hair. Okay, it is used to remove the undecided tissue, like a granulation tissue on a wound, the slough tissue, everything is removed by debridement. Okay, Lekhana is debridement, and it is indicated in pathologies of eyelids, skin, etc., like wounds and all. So it is the removal of unwanted superficial structures like hypergranulations. So we can see a video demonstration. Okay, this is actually we are using a fish with the scales, and the scales are gently removed by means of the scalpel, and the underlying tissues are not affected. The very delicate skin is not harmed. Likewise, we can train for Lekhana Karma, that is debridement. Okay. So these things, the video demonstrations that I used here are all easily available in the house itself. Okay, you need not go outside in this lockdown scenario. You can do it with the things available at your house itself. So that was Lekhana. Now we are moving on to Vyadhana. So what is a Vyadhana? It is puncturing. Okay, puncturing is practiced on the lily stalk. Okay, lily stalk and dead animal veins, etc. So it is told classically in such materials, and we can practice the puncturing with the optimum precision. And the indications are hydrocele and ascites. Okay, coming to Ashana. Coming to Ashana, it is practiced in probing through cavities or tracts. It is actually probing. Ashana karma is probing, and it is carried out in decayed wood, that is Gunobahada Kashta. Gunobahada Kashta, bamboo stem, dried gourd, etc. And the indications are sinus, wound impacted, foreign body, etc. So the Gunobahada Kashta or the decayed wood is shown in the picture here. And let's see a video demonstration of Ashana. It is practiced in a snake god here. So just we have put an opening, a hole in the surface of this particular snake god, and we can pass a metallic wire or a malleable copper wire or something like that. We can pass it on, and we can assess the passage, okay, whether it is going that is downwards or upwards or sidewards. We can assess the direction of the passage of the probe. Likewise, we can assess the cavity, direction of the cavity. So that was Ashana. Now coming to Aharana. Aharana, it is extraction. Extraction, it is a removal of a foreign body by pulling, by a traction force, with a traction force. And it is done in fruits like a panasa, bimbi, bilvabhala, provided with seeds within it. And the seeds are removed by giving a pulling or a traction force is applied, and they are removed. So we get to know that force that is required to extract this particular thing from inside. And the indications are urinary calculi, impacted foreign bodies, and obstructed labor, that is moda garbha. Usually it is done with the help of badisha or a hook-like instruments are used to extract the foreign bodies from the body cavities. So the example is a removal of seed from a jackfruit. That is the example. Here is a video demonstration for Aharana karma. So this is Aharana. Aharana, here we are using a pomegranate fruit, and with the help of forceps, okay, a dissection forceps, we are extracting the seeds one by one. We can practice it with the help of even tweezers, okay. The small tweezers can be used at home, and we can extract the seeds from this pomegranate, and that is an example for Aharana procedure. So that was Aharana. Now comes Visravana. What is Visravana? Visravana is actually drainage, and it is practiced with the help of classically it is practiced with the help of Madhuchishta Ubalipta Shalmali Bhalaka. Shalmali is Bombax ceiba. It is a Shalmali tree, and the wood is having some peculiarity. It is very succulent, and it resembles the flesh when the bark is removed. And Madhuchishta is beeswax. It is smeared over it, and we can put a nice incision so as the fluid inside can ooze out. So that is called a Visravana. So we can assess the what is the pressure that is required to put an incision there in order to extract or in order to make the fluid flow out from the body cavity. So that is Visravana karma. Now comes to Sivana karma or suturing. Sivana karma or suturing. It is actually practiced in Sukshma Khana Vastranda or even with Mridu Charma. So Vastra means it is the thin cloth layers can be used for practicing this Sivana karma, and Charma means it is the thin skin can be used. Animal skin or dead animal skin can be used for practicing Sivana karma, and you can practice different types of Sivana, the mattress suture, the interrupted suture, everything can be practiced by using this cloth and sewing needle and thread. Even if you can afford a suturing pad, you can order it online, and you can use the proper curved needles, surgical needles, and you can avail one suturing material like a black silk, and you can use it. It will give a much more better way of practicing suturing. So that is suturing is demonstrated by means of borders of clothes and soft leather, and it is indicated in the traumatic wound. So this is a video demonstration for the Sivana karma. Sivana, here it is practiced using a suturing pad, and the instruments like a needle holder is used. You can order it online if you can afford it. And black silk is used for suturing. Um, Also, you can use a dissection forceps to avoid the skin, avoid the edges. Okay. And that was Sivana. That was the video demonstration for Sivana Karma. Now let's move on to Bandhana. Bandhana, it is practiced with the help of Pustamaya Purusha. That means Pustamaya Purusha Anga Pratyanga. That means the different body parts of mannequins can be used for bandaging, learning bandaging. Okay, so that's it. And bandaging mannequins are available. So only institutional setup requires the mannequins and all. Otherwise, you can learn this bandaging by that is doing it on your friends or relatives, or you can do it to each other if you are in the hostel and all. So that was bandhana. Now coming to parasurgical procedures, mridushu mamsa khandeshu. It is indicated to do in that is mridu mamsa khanda. So the Agni and Kshara karma can be practiced in mridu mamsa khanda. So now coming to Anya karmas, or the miscellaneous other Shastra karmas, or therapeutic actions that can be practiced in conditions like washing of eyes. That is washing of eyes, and the irrigation of wounds. Those can be practiced with the help of a port with this opening in the side, so that the water flows out like a jet through the side, and it can be used for the washing of the eyes, and the Vranavasti and Netravasti. That is the washing of the eyes as well as the wound irrigation. So these are all the concepts explained by Sushruta, and let's discuss what are the points, what are the insights that we get on practicing these kind of activities, these models told by Sushruta. So when we are practicing Chedana Karma in the vegetables prescribed by Sushruta, we can apprehend, the scholar can apprehend the pressure that has to be applied for this excision, and also he'll become more exponent or a more trained, competent in holding the instrument in different ways for different procedures. So for excision in different directions. So that is one point. And when it comes to Bhedana, that is incision and exploration, the student is able to judge the exact pressure which is less than that of Chedana required to incise and explore a cavity. That is different from giving a perpendicular pressure and just excising a part. Okay, so we can differentiate between the two. And Lekhana, the student learns precision required to avoid injury to the nearby structures. He has to remove the slough tissue, the hypergranulation, everything has to be removed, but the underlying tissue should not be affected. It should not be harmed at all. So that is a Lekhana. And then it comes to Vyadhana. When it comes to Vyadhana, puncturing, the puncture has to be done with optimum precision. It should not be very deep. It should not penetrate into deeper structures. Okay, so when it comes to Ashana, the scholar can develop the skill to assess the pathway of sinus, okay, sinus and the cavities. And when it comes to Aharana, that is extraction, the scholar can judge the pulling force that is required for the removal of the foreign body. And when it comes to Visravana, the scholar learns to make a fine incision for the free flow of fluid from the cavity, body cavity. So that is the discussion of the methods prescribed by Sushruta for Yoga Sutriya. And Sushruta concludes by saying, Evam adishu medhavi yogya arheshu yadhavidhi dravyeshu yogyam kurvano na pramukhyanti karmasu. So a person or a scholar made competent by these techniques, okay, he shall not waver in his surgical procedures, during the surgery procedures. So that way we have to train the student in the Ashtavidha Shastra Karma and the other activities. So when now it comes the modern aspects of simulation training. So what are the types of simulation? We can see there are major three types are there: preclinical simulation, clinical simulation, and the post-clinical simulation. So what is a preclinical? It is the cognitive domain. Okay, that is only the intellectual part is coming under preclinical simulation. We are learning the basic concepts. Whatever concept we are learning, we are by hearting, or we are understanding, or analyzing the basic theoretical part of a context. And clinical simulation means we are practicing it. Okay, that is the kinetic domain is coming into action. And the post-clinical simulation means we are getting assessed. Okay, we are demonstrating it to the person, that is the trainers, and they are assessing and evaluating based on our activity. The affective and the psychomotor domains come into action in this particular type of simulation. So these are the basic types of simulation in the modern context, and how you have to see whether how the simulation works. Okay, how this particular thing works for a student, from a student's side. Okay, how it helps the student to gain knowledge. Okay, it creates a curiosity. So when you are given a simulator and you are asked to practice, okay, you have that is, you get a curiosity to explore the thing, and you will feel like doing it. Okay, that is the first thing. It will create a need to know this thing further. Okay, then only you can do that particular simulation procedure. So, and it gets to practice. Okay, everyone gets a chance to practice. So if you are getting in this particular lockdown scenario, the OPDs will be reduced. If you were getting 100 OPDs earlier, it will be reduced to some 1/4, 25% now. If you one patient is coming, you will have to grab, there will be a rush to grab that patient, to assist the procedure, or to observe the procedure, and so on. So if it is a simulation based training, there will be no problem, no worries. That is, you will all get a equal chance to train. Okay, you'll all get equal chance to train. That is, until you are satisfied, you can train with the simulator. So it provides, and also it provides constant feedback. Okay, you are doing some kind of simulation activity, and if you are doing it the next time you are doing it in an improvised way. Okay, you are using the support of your left hand, so you are putting a note. Okay, the first time you got it loose, the next time you will improve, you'll take the help of the other hand also. You will twist it once again, so you will get you will get the constant feedback. If I'm doing like this, I'll get a result like this. So that is the constant feedback mechanism. So you will get a constant feedback while practicing on a simulator. That's it. And it motivates the learning process. Okay, you will feel like, okay, you'll rather than mugging up the text, you will feel more oriented towards learning, the learning process, and it motivates you towards learning, and it aids guided reflection also. Okay, you will get a new insights. Okay, while practicing something, like you are putting a knot. Okay, you are putting a knot with a Gupulukshara Sutra. Try putting a knot with another, that is Apamarga Kshara Sutra. There is difference. Okay, some insights you can gain from that. Okay, on practicing things, you will get the things that you don't get from the theory books. Okay, so you get more insights on the context you are learning by means of simulation techniques. So that is how the simulation orients the student towards the learning process. So now comes the 8 levels of simulation in the modern medical education, that is the health science technology. So knowingly or unknowingly, we are using some of the factors in our study methods also. Okay, these are all prescribed by the university, so there is no problem in following all these techniques or the methods for getting trained in our medical science. Okay, the first four set, okay, that is the problem-based learning, the models and specimens, specific task trainers, and standardized patients. Okay, these can be used for the basic training. Okay, these are the first set can be used for a basic level training, that is an undergraduate level training, and the rest four, they can be used for a higher training for a specialist or likewise it goes. They are a little bit higher with respect to the cost, and also only institutional backup is there. If it is there only, we can afford such simulators. So let's see what are these levels of simulation one by one. That is, first is a problem based learning. Okay, problem based learning. First it is, I've given a picture here, and you have to name the particular condition. So this is a basic simulation method that is usually followed in times of examinations, or you get a short case to write, elaborate, or a long case to elaborate. Such this is just a simulation method that we commonly use. So you are given a clinical scenario and you are asked to elaborate it. Okay, what is a particular condition? Any other name is there, any synonym for this particular condition? What are the causes of this particular condition? How can we clinically assess this particular condition? What are the investigations, lab investigations? How can it be treated? So we are giving a scenario and asking the students to elaborate it. So I think most of you are familiar with this particular scenario. Anybody can answer this? What is this particular condition?
You can unmute yourself and answer if you wish for. Participants, you can unmute yourself.
This is pilonidal sinus.
Yes, very good, very good. Yes, that is a pilonidal sinus, and likewise, that itself. Okay, in the lockdown, okay, you can form study groups, or you can form a peer group, and you can discuss things likewise. Okay, you can give a clinical scenario. You can ask your friends. Okay, you are studying something in a very that is, you can self prepare some material, and you can ask your friends regarding this. You can make a problem-based learning scenario likewise. That will enable, that will retain more memory, that will help to retain the things more for a longer duration in your memory. So that is a first step, or the simple step of simulation. Next comes the models and specimen. I don't know whether the full slide is visible. It is a models and specimen. Right from the beginning of our career, that is right from the beginning of our course, we are getting familiar with so many models and specimens, like the skeleton, and the visceral organs like the liver and the heart and the kidney, everything. And so many specimens we are coming across. We are coming across so many specimens, and this particular model, it is displayed in Government Ayurveda College. Their anatomy lab, it is shown. It is actually a specimen, or not a specimen, it is a model of the Shavachedana Vidhi, which is told in the Susrutam Sharirasthana, that is 5th chapter. So the entire sloka is visualized in this particular model. You can see that the Shavachedana has to be carried out in a secluded place, like a small forest like area. So that is shown in this particular model. And also the running water is shown, and also the kunjara, or the cage-like structure for placing the dead body. The cadaver is seen, and the putrefied body is taken for a study. It is taken for dissection by the students. It is shown such models. Okay, it is a unique model. So I saw this and I took the photograph and kept it in the backup. So that is. And that should be the approach of a student. Now, you are always familiar with the models of all the internal organs and other things. So we have to develop models of this unique kind. Okay, one of its kind models has to be developed. Okay, it is a lockdown. You have plenty of time. You are staying at home, and you can you can develop some kind of models like these. So that's it. And that is about the models and specimens. And these are some of the models made by my students for a science exhibition we have done in our college recently. That is, this is the mannequin for bandaging. These are the traditional bandages done with the cotton cloth, and also crepe bandages done in this mannequin. And you can see a hernia model, and also the causes for low back pain. It is in the form of a chart. And you can see so many musculoskeletal disorders, the organ models and the specimens like a bladder stone. And you can see my students in between, they are busy preparing the charts and the models. Okay, so that's all about models and specimens. Okay, you have to develop with your creativity, your ideas. You have to develop some unique kind of models and specimens. Okay, you have to develop such things for enabling or getting more oriented towards your study. So these are specific task trainings. That is a third level of simulation. This also, okay, they are not very costly. You can avail them, but institutions, we should need some institutional backup. You cannot, a single person cannot avail these. Okay, if you are a group or some club or something like that, can a students group or something union or any study group can avail a mannequin, and you can train in that. So these are specific task trainers. There are n number of specific task trainers for all kind of surgical, medical, and nursing care, for catheterization, for surgery care, for PR examination, CPR, and for these choking trainers, for injection training. So many that is task trainings, simulation trainers. Okay, task trainers, they are called the specific task trainers or mannequins for specific task are available. So you can use it according to your affordability. So these are also very good for gaining specific skills like injection or catheterization, etc. So that is it. And then comes the standardized patient. Okay, what is a standardized patient? It is not very common. I think it is not much common in our scenario or UG or PG study. It is a healthy individual. Okay, it's a healthy individual. He's trained like a patient, and he'll be acting like a patient. So it is we have to go and we have to give him the proper care. We have to and assess his condition, and we have to give the proper care, and we are getting assessed here. So that is in our clinic scenario. Like in the syllabus of BAMS, it is not coming, and also I think it is not coming in the PG level syllabus also. So the healthy individual is trained to portray a patient in order to assess the clinical skills. Next comes the hybrid things from both these aspects. And the patient will be showing more behavioral or responses will be mostly from the side of the patient, and the simulator will be given the already preloaded feedbacks. Okay, so simultaneously the student is gaining insights on a particular disease condition. That is the standardized patients and the simulators together. So the behavior of the patient can be noted separately. So what is the difference by just training from a simulator and a live patient? So it enhances critical thinking of the student. Okay, so that is emergency training can be done likewise. So this is a high fidelity simulator, okay? High fidelity simulator. I don't know, the title part is visible. Yes, this is a high fidelity simulator. It is a branded simulator. It is called the Lucina from the CAE company. It is a highly validated tool for practicing the maternity related procedures. That is, it is a maternal and fetal simulator. It has a child inside it, so we can perform the normal delivery in it. If you want an obstructed training on obstructed labor, then that will be provided. Oh, it is having a computer setup, or it is having a remote control with that, and you can change the settings, and accordingly you can get trained in the various aspects of that is maternity and maternal and fetal simulator it is. So that is electronic. It is having electronic backup, and it mimics the normal physiological activities of the human body. It will be even having the pulse, the respiratory rate, everything will be present in such simulators. It will be very costly, and only specialty centers can afford such simulators. Now coming to virtual reality. What is virtual reality? It is actually that is you'll be having a Google set for this VR facility, and you'll be provided with a remote control, and you can just that is by switching on to different options, you can feel like being in a that is surgical setting. So the student can perform a virtual space surgery. Okay, so they can behave as though they are present in the real surgical setting. Okay, here you can see a student. She's wearing the headset and all, the VR headset, and holding some kind of remote control. Only she's present in a vacant room, and she feels as though she's in a operating environment, and she can do the procedures accordingly. Okay, that is a VR. That is the virtual reality simulator. And one step ahead, it is the haptic simulator. Haptic simulator is just one step ahead of the VR, and it is the it provides an additional sensation, that is a tactile sensation. You can touch and feel. Okay, that is it. And in addition to the simulation experience, thus enhancing the psychomotor feedback. So there is an extra sensation, that is a tactile sensation. Okay, so it is also incorporated in training, that is arthroscopy, the dental procedures. Okay, these are all trained by means of haptic simulators. So these are that was the end of the 8 levels of simulation, and these are some low fidelity simulators, that is the chicken skin bench model and the synthetic ethylene vinyl acetate model. These are all used for dermatological procedures. These are just low fidelity, and you can afford to use them. Okay, so this is the 6 levels of simulation. Whenever you are performing a simulation procedure, you have to go through these 6 levels. Okay, so that is, first is a preparation. You have to prepare the theory well, in a well-versed way. That is, you have to revise all the, okay, if your trainer is giving you an opportunity to simulate, you have to prepare. You have to do the homework and come. That is the preparation. And next comes the briefing. Briefing means the trainer will explain to you the steps. Okay, what all are the steps required? One by one, he will explain all the aspects. What are the merits? What are the demerits? Or what? How should you do? And if you do, what will be the problem? Will there be any risk factor? Likewise, all the aspects he will be enumerating to you. That is called a briefing. And simulation exercise means the student is performing the simulation step by step, as the trainer mentioned. And debriefing means he has to reflect back. Okay, he has to that is, they should come together, and they should sit and analyze, okay, how we all performed this simulation, and that is and the insights gained has to be shared in the student group, and the feedback, okay, the point will be provided by the trainer. So that should be the way of practicing a simulation. It can be practiced in the online classes, and in the combined study sessions you can do this simulation cycle of simulation. Okay, So coming to the learning pyramid, okay, coming to the learning pyramid, it is actually it shows how much you imbibe, okay, how much ideas or insights you get from a class, okay, through different methods of learning. So it is a research outcome. It is told like you will get only 5% of 5% of the knowledge is retained in your memory after a lecture. When it comes to reading, okay, you after the lecture you go home and you read that particular portion, you'll get a 10% retention. And if it was an audio visual session like this, you will get a 20% retention. And if it involves demonstration, if I am demonstrating, okay, I've shown some video demonstrations, that means you are getting 30% it is retaining in your memory. And if it is a discussion between yourself, it is an interactive session, that means you are retaining 50%. And if it is a practice by doing, just note this point, that is, if you are practicing by doing, it will be retained 75% in your memory. So that is the significance of this particular point. That is a simulation technique. So if you are practicing something, you're studying surgery to practice, isn't it? So if you are practicing surgery and learning it, you will retain this memory by 75% in your brain. So this is the learning pyramid. And if you're teaching, okay, that is, then you are teaching your juniors, you're teaching your classmates, you're teaching your friends, then it will improve by 90% of this memory will be retained within, okay, retained in your memory. So that's it. Then comes to the conclusion. Then here we are coming to the conclusion of this presentation. Simulation-based training, it is a highly developed branch in the contemporary science. 75% of the knowledge can be retained in memory by doing those practical sessions. And Sushruta has contributed a unique prototype, namely the Yogyaviti or Yogya Sutriya, and that discussed how students learn the surgery outside the operating environment through simple means. And it is very cost effective. Okay, in the lockdown times, you cannot afford a simulator, a lab, or you cannot go outside, you get a dummy and a practice. Okay, you can always go for this simple low fidelity models in this current lockdown scenario. And you can use it as a cost effective and an add-on method. Okay, if you're getting to practice on hands-on, then it's okay, and you can use it as an add-on procedure. And also this can be incorporated in the current scenario of pandemic, where the physical training is unfeasible. So that is the end of the session. These are all my references and my acknowledgements. I acknowledge the staff, students, and management of my college, Nangelil Ayurveda Medical College, Kodamangalam, Kerala. And also I thank the entire team behind Yogyaviti, the ancient surgical tutelage. It is a short video, it is available in the YouTube with the same title. It was a video production on the concept of simulation with the support of the students and teachers of PG Department of Shalyatantra Amrita School of Ayurveda and the UG 2014 batch. I acknowledge Dr. Rajeshwari PN, who's a constant source of inspiration for me, and Dr. Unikrishnan, Dean Academics, Kuhas, for training us under the certificate program of Healthcare Science, Education and Technology, and also Dr. Manu Krishnan for the support. And thank you, Dr. Akshada and Team Tattva Bodhini for this platform. Thank you all.
Okay. So, Dr. Sri Lakshmi, can we go for question answer session?
Yes, sure.
Yes. So those who have the questions can put their questions in the chat box, and they'll be answered. Please do it quickly. Or you can unmute yourself and ask the doubt. Nobody?
No doubts?
Yeah, there is one doubt, Dr. Sri Lakshmi. by Rohit Arora. The relevance of Sushruta Samhita in a latest scenario.
In the later scenario.
Yeah.
So, okay.
With respect to Yogya Vidhi.
Okay, Sushruta has mentioned this concept that is he has elaborated Yogya Vidhi only in the context of certain surgical procedures, basically in the Ashtavida Shastra Karma, that is the 8 basic surgical procedures. So it is not mentioned anywhere. Okay, you are using so many low fidelity models are there, but there is no such classification of 8 surgical techniques mentioned anywhere in the modern text. So you can let us do further research on different materials other than the vegetable materials. You can do further research on other materials because Sushruta has told like that sadrisha vastu can be used for this simulation purpose. Not only the vegetable enumerated by him, other materials can also be selected. So you can expand your scope can be expanded further. And also he has told that is Ekam Shastram Adhyano Vidyat Shastra Nishya Tasmat Bahushrutaha. You have to expand the scope of your that is science to other fields also. Okay, you have to get that is you can develop simulators for Panchakarma procedures, or you can elaborate this in the context of not only surgery, other branches also. You can just widen the scope of your science.
Okay, there's another question. Is there any comparison of ancient and modern surgical instruments? Please give the names equivalents.
Okay, there is is there a comparison between the ancient and the modern? Okay, yes, when you consider there is a classification like the Shastra and the Yantra. So currently also there is a classification likewise. So you can the Swastika Yantras, they can be considered as the modern day forceps, and the Sandamsha Yantras, they are told like the pincer forceps or the dissecting forceps. Likewise, the Nadi Yantras, they are considered to be the scopes or different endoscopes or any proctoscope. Something like a scope is a Nadi Yantra. And also the speculums are also coming under the Nadi Yantra concept. Likewise, you can compare all the that is the olden or the ancient instruments can be correlated to the modern day instruments.
And also they are asking like whether you have a chart of comparison between these two.
It is. I think it is available. That is. Otherwise, we can plan for another. That is another. Discussion on it. It's a broader concept. Okay. There is. And there is a presentation regarding that also. Regarding the comparison of instruments alone.
We can
make
do
a separate presentation on blunt instruments and sharp instruments, because it is such a lot of instruments are there, and there is comparison between each of them.
Okay, fine. So we'll do that session very soon. So any other? I hope your doubts are cleared, Rohit Arora. Any other questions? Okay. Anybody else would like to ask a question?
If no question is there, I can elaborate on that question that was asked in that is that Rohit Arora's question of.
You can answer. You can answer, ma'am.
Yes,
there's no questions.
Actually, you can you can work on that is the simulation concept is such a wide concept. You can work anywhere. Like you can take a group of students and you can study them. You can expose one group to the simulation activities told by Sushruta, and you can expose the another group to the modern facilities available. You can do a comparison. Likewise, you can plan different types of research on this very concept. Only 9 slokas are there in this particular chapter, but it can be elaborated in such a manner that it is a main teaching methodology of modern medical science, and it has been explained very clearly, and it is in a very precise manner by Sushruta, and it can be linked with the context of instruments in the other chapters like Shastra Vidhi. It can be linked with the application of these things in the 25th chapter, and you can do various researches based on this. It is not just Ashtavidha Shastra Karma, it can be elaborated to many other, each and every surgical procedure, it is a permutation and combination of the Ashtavidha Shastra Karma. So likewise, it can be applicable to a wider perspective. I think that is clear.
So somebody raised their hand. I think they can ask the question. You can unmute yourself. So I have a comment, ma'am. Rohit Arora is saying it is one of the unique lectures which he has attended.
Thank you so much.
Am I audible to you, ma'am?
Yes, Rohit, yes.
Ma'am, this was one of the really practically oriented lecture. Actually, I am a 4th-year student of BAMS. The point is this, ma'am, some of the things which are duly mentioned in the books, their equivalent are not understood, like Alabu and all these things. Those are just equivalent searching. See, if we take the bottle guard or something like this, exact comparative alternates are not available. So is there any particular alternate duly available list that is being made by somebody who is working in this field, so that we may take those things which are present in the current market for doing all these things practically?
You are.
I hope I made my point clear.
Yes. I understood the concern. Okay, you are that is in the current context. Okay, we are just mugging up the slokas, or we are just superficially learning. But Sushruta has very clearly mentioned that you should not stick on to the examples told by him. Okay, he has just said some just examples he had said. Okay, that came to his mind. Okay, maybe at that time. So you are free to use anything. Okay, you can just consult with your own teacher. Okay, your teacher or professor, you can consult with him or her, and you can select such items. Okay, I just those examples I had shown you is just those shown by our UG students while I was pursuing my PG. My juniors, that is a UG 2014 batch, they gave me the idea of using such alternative methods, like you can use the anar fruit instead of using a jackfruit. Okay, you can easily demonstrate. Okay, you can easily understand. You should try. Okay, you should read. That way you have to learn Ayurveda. It should not be like mugging up slokas and that is and just reproducing it during the exams or viva. You should think about it. You have to develop insights. Okay, you have to develop your own models. Okay, and then you should teach your juniors or classmates who are weak in the class. You have to identify, you have to search within yourself. Okay, there will be students, your friends will be in my classes. I have shown you my class students making models and all. Few students are very interested. Okay, they are very keen in making models. They are not very bright or above average students, but they are interested. Okay, that they show interest, and that is they gain the. And that is they will ask the teachers or some bright students regarding the doubts and all, and they'll clear it, and they will prepare various kinds of models and all required for the study, for this expose and all. They are preparing it. So likewise, you have to think, you have to make group discussions, and then you have to come out with such things. Okay, always you should not wait for somebody to come and that is bring something for you. Okay, that is in seminars and webinars like this, you have to gain such insights, and you have to develop your own things. That is, you're a final year student, you're learning research and all, and next year you have to, that is, if you are going for PG, you have to do a research by yourself. So you have to try growing your own insights, and you have to come out with ideas. So that's it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, one more doubt is there, ma'am. One of the biggest difference between the Ayurvedic surgery and modern surgery context is the concept of anesthesia. The point is this, in modern we have so many things, bupivacaine, lignocaine, all these things are there. In the ancient point of view, when we read, there is the demonstration and the mentioning that the alcohol was used to induce the anesthesia as a sedative or something like this. Secondly, on many contexts, practically, I see that some of the variants are of alcohol are there which induce the urination and all. So, can you put some light upon this? That anesthesia on one part, that is not doing that particular thing, that it is increasing the any output or like this, but the alcohol variants are there which are increasing the urination content. So, can you just elaborate what exactly is the mentioning in the Ayurveda with respect to the anesthesia if we want to stick only to the Ayurveda?
Sir, that means anesthesia, the difference between using anesthetics, alcohol as an anesthetic. Actually, it is not very advisable to use alcohol as an anesthetic because it has got so many bad effects on the liver and the systemic. It can predispose to systemic conditions. But it has been told in Ayurveda, like we were using alcohol was used as an anesthetic. This is not coming with this topic is not related to our subject anyways. But anyway, I'm trying to answer. It is like you should not consider it as a difference. That is, in Ayurveda we use this, in modern we use. So it is told in we have not okay, we have not we cannot we should not set apart, you should not separate it as Ayurveda concepts or modern concept. The basic principles are all the same. So in the ancient times it was said madakari, that is madhya is used for anesthesia. In Susruta Samhita 17th chapter and all, it is told like you have to use madhya for anesthetizing the patient. But when it comes to when the system has evolved, when it reached the period of Sharangadhara, he has incorporated the use of Papaver somniferum also, that is used as the used in the current contemporary science as a anesthetic. So you should not consider it in a very extreme way that this is not Ayurveda or this is Ayurveda. Likewise, whatever things told, the basic concept you have to ponder over it, and all the things are same.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Conclude the session, ma'am. There are no more doubts. Lakshmi, we can conclude.
Okay. Okay, thank you for patient listening.
Yeah, I would like to request Dr. Ashwini Honganawar, a coordinator of Tattva-Bodhini, to conclude this session. Thank you, Dr. Sri Lakshmi. One second.
Thank you, Dr. Akshara. I deem it a great privilege to listening to you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, sharing your knowledge with us on the topic of a practical approach to the Sushruta surgical training in a lockdown scenario. Thank you, ma'am, once again. And thank you all the participants for joining us today. Looking forward to see you all in upcoming sessions. Stay connected with us in our YouTube channels and Facebook pages. Facebook page for all the updates. Once again, thank you, ma'am, and all the participants. We'll end the session, today's session, with a quoting of Brad Henry. A good teacher can inspire hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning. Thank you one and all.